in a cottage with her mother and her sister. And one morning, her mother had a job for Little Red Riding Hood and told her,
"You will grind a little egg stick. So you have to bring this basket of goodies to her."
And Little Red Riding Hood said.
Okay.
So she stood up and grabbed her basket, but before she went, her sister wished her and told her be careful and return safe. And her mother warned her. She told her,
Make sure you stay on the path and you don't talk.
So, with that in mind, Little Red Riding Hood set off. She was skipping along the path. No sooner had she left, she ran into the wolf. And the wolf asked Little Red Riding Hood,
We're heading off to my dear.
and Little Red Riding Hood said,
I'm going to my grandmother's house.
and the wolf asked her, well, where is her house?
Where's her house?
And Little Red Riding Hood said,
Over the hill.
over the hill and through the woods. Wow. The wolf looked at Little Red Riding Hood and tried to think of a plan to stall her. And the wolf thought, what could I have her do? And the wolf told Little Red Riding Hood, maybe.
We can pick some flowers for her.
And Little Red Riding Hood said, yes, that's a good idea. So she bent down. She was going off the path. And she was picking flowers. Well, that crafty old wolf, he ran straight to Grandma's house, knocked on the door.
Who is it?
And the wolf said, in his high, squeaky voice.
Come in, my dear.
So the wolf went on in, went over to Grandma. Grandma screamed. The wolf ran around Grandma's bed and gobbled her up. Gobbled up Grandma. Oh my! And that wolf got inside of Grandma's bed, pulled the covers up, and waited for Little Red Riding Hood to come. Here she came, skipping along. She knocked on the door. And the wolf said in Grandma's high, squeaky voice, and Little Red Riding Hood said, and Little Red Riding Hood went over to Grandmother's bed and looked at her and said, what's big?
What big ears you have? Oh, they're better to hear you with my dear.
And then Little Red Riding Hood looked at Grandma's big round eyes and said,
What big eyes you have, Grandma?
and then the wolf looked at Little Red Riding Hood looked at the wolf's big teeth and said, why, Grandma?
No, Grandma, what big teeth you have? Oh, they're better to eat with my dear.
And the wolf jumped up and started to chase Little Red Riding Hood all over the house. When all of a sudden, a couple of hunters came walking along. And they heard the commotion. And they went in the house, and that hunter looked at the wolf and said,
There's that wolf.
and the two hunters grabbed that wolf. They were taking him away. Until they had an idea. They thought Grandma might still be in that wolf. So they took her behind. And they opened up that wolf, and out came Grandma.
She's wearing a
That
wig.
wolf lay down dead. The wolf lay down.
Dead.
Wolf. And Grandma was all well, and she went over to join Little Red Riding Hood. That's okay, guys. Grandma went over to join Little Red Riding Hood, and they sat down to the basket of goodies, and the hunters took that wolf away. They never saw him ever again. And Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood sat down and had a delicious lunch of all kinds of goodies.
The moral. Always listen to your mother. Don't talk to strangers. The end.
Awesome! That's great. Our Sun in the Wind caster, narrator Emiliano. Take it out, Emiliano. Our person, Sophie. And our son, Emma. Our wind, Amaya. Little Red Riding Hood, Sophia. And our woodcutter, Andrew and Emmy. Our mother, Erica. Our sister, Emma. And our grandma, Emily. And our teller of the moral, Amaya. And the big bad wolf, Isabella. Let's give her one more round of applause. Take a bow, friends. Thank you for coming to our show.